Hello, and
Welcome to another episode of Giving Us Something to Talk About. I'm your host,
TJ. And today I have a very, very special guest with me. Her name is Perri Storey. And Perri has the most magnificent life ever. But we're going to be talking about some other things with Perri. But I got to tell you about who she is, and because she is somebody. Perri Storey is the Special Assistant for Innovation and Evaluation with the District of Columbia government and former Chief of Staff for the Director of the Houston Public Works. She was working with 3,800 employees and a $3.3 billion budget that she oversaw. What in the world, Perri? This was the nation's largest public works agency, and she is known as the People's Chief and the first Black woman to hold that role. Perri had spent 30 years in public service across the U.S. jurisdictions from Detroit to San Diego to Washington. She's been everywhere, D.C. She is a level 1 and 2 certified chief of staff trained at Harvard and Said Business School at Oxford. Did I say that right, Said? Is it Said?
You said it right.
Yeah. Okay. And an avid solo traveler, navigating purpose, faith, and singleness alongside an award-winning career. Miss Perri Storey. Everybody, welcome Perri Storey to the show. Welcome, Perri.
Thank you, Miss T. Jane, Tanya, finest frog hair, beautiful sister, you and your daughter, Shelby.
You've been calling us that
for years, over a decade for sure. But thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to talk to you. Just true to fact, I see you as family, even though I know we met on Facebook, but you have a beautiful spirit. And so I'm just happy to spend some time with you. Don't
Thank
get
you
too
so
much in my
much.
business, TJ.
We're getting all in it today, and you're gonna produce the answers to the questions that I have, because we want to talk about your career, but we also want to talk about being single, because to me, you have lived the epitome of at your own what you want. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to be single, I'm sure, but you are living your life in a very beautiful way. So we want to discuss that. But first, you are known as the People's Chief, but off the clock, who is Perri?
You know, this is such a good question. I think off the clock, even more than motherhood, I see myself as a friend. I call myself the community cousin. I am just, because of how I lived and moved around and everything, I can just assimilate to any Black culture in the world. I figured that out even living overseas. But I'm a friend first. I'm a mom. I'm a sister. My brother was incarcerated for 34 years. So I am a supporter of the reentry, the formerly incarcerated, that whole industrial complex, and a Christian, a God lover, and an activist. At my core, I cannot stand injustice, at my core. And so that's the way I would have to describe myself. A friend first, an activist, a mom, a sister, a community cousin. I entered the room Black first, sitting there, fight the power.
And unafraid to enter that room. You have a son and a daughter-in-law. You have any grandchildren yet?
No grandchildren. My son is 35. I'm pressuring them. They told me they can't bring kids into this world the way it is right now. So I have to respect that. I'm not getting any younger.
Well, we're going to pray that flip over. God can do anything. Your quote is, "The enemy of listening is expertise." What's the moment that taught you that at work, or was it in your personal life?
Well, I first really came up with the quote when I was the chief of staff, because we had a situation to happen that truly could have been avoided had the experts listened to the frontline people. And I find sometimes when you have expertise and you've been doing something for so long, you just anticipate that and so you're not necessarily listening anymore because you anticipate, I've been doing this for so long, I know. And so they did not listen to the frontline people who really had the expertise. And so we had a big mess, a big embarrassing mess that made the news and everything.
Oh my goodness.
I just always felt called to the nations, and the nations being local cities. But in one of those cities where I was serving, we had some frontline people who really were the experts, and the people who have been doing things for so long. Once you've been doing something for so long, your hearing gets desensitized. You have to be intentional about hearing once you have expertise. And so it created a big mess. We made the news. Had we just listened to the frontline people, it could have saved us a lot of heartache and embarrassment.
So you have had a couple of positions where you were the first Black woman, first whatever else. What did that cost you personally?
You know, I learned, my mother used to say there's a black tax to be paid. And so
Mm,
some of the people I've met on Facebook, they make fun of me and they say, you just go hard. You're so intense. You go hard and you are hard on yourself. But really, it's a spirit of excellence. You know, when you, to me, as a black person living in America, you are expected to produce, you are expected to know, you are, to me, it is a black tax to be paid.
it
And
is.
it's real. It's
Yes, it
real.
is.
You know,
I
and if
do.
anybody has excelled in their role or been the first or the only in rooms in white adjacent spaces, predominantly white spaces, you know what I'm talking about.
I
But
do.
it cost me a lot. In one of my previous roles, I'm not going to mention cities, but I'm sure if some of the people hear this from those areas, they know. But in one of the cities, I was a communication spokesperson for the city, and they
Hmm.
had some unrest, and I just pretty much was saying the truth. And it irritated some of the, I would say, some of the races that they were
Mm.
afraid for me. You know, they thought I might need a protection detail. I said,
Ooh.
Detroit, I don't need a protection detail. I'll be okay. But it's just the fact of when you speak truth to power as a black person living in America, there is this assumption that you're supposed to know your place. Like it's just
Mm.
an assumption that you're supposed to know your place. And so whenever you're challenging those ideologies, it can be scary. I got doxxed. My personal information has been put on the internet,
What?
threatened. And I had to change my name on social media for a
I
minute.
think I remember that.
You remember
Yeah.
that? Because everybody's like, "Who is
Hmm.
Echo Tyler?" It's me. I'm in hiding.
I remember that. Oh my gosh, Echo Tyler. Wow, Perry. And so it didn't bother you at all? Was you just kept your faith. You believed. You weren't afraid, but you were still moving in caution, maybe?
You know what? I felt called to these cities. You know, when I say I was called to the nations, because of how it was happening too, I was
Hmm.
moving and getting roles, and I was leaping, what I call my leaping in the net with a peer season. But no, I wasn't afraid. I knew everything that I said was the truth, and any rational person with normal temperament will understand what I was saying was the truth. And you have to know, as a black person living in America, when is something is about color. You know, everything they'll try to tell you is not about race, but some things are about race.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's for definitely sure. So I wanted to go back a little bit, not go back, but I remember when you were getting ready to come to go to DC, you had kind of put in as a for people to guess where you were going. I think I nailed it. I think I did.
I
I
think
think
you
I
were
got it
one of
right.
those people guessed it, two or three people. Yeah.
So moving from place to place for your career, what has that done to your roots, your relationships, and your sense of home?
It's been tough. You know, I've always been grounded and very proud of being from Detroit. I use the hashtag imported from Detroit. I got it from the Chrysler commercial, one of those Super Bowl commercials. But
Hmm.
in terms of trying to have loving partner relationships with the men, that's hard. You know, men, one guy was just saying to me, he was very honest. He's like, Perry, it's intimidating to try to fall in love with you because you're the kind of person like, well, I've had enough. I'm out. You know? And I get that, you know, because it is like that. Like I've had enough of them out.
What? Okay.
But I think what keeps me centered, this is such a good question. You're such a good interviewer.
Oh, God bless you. Thank
What
you.
keeps me centered is being from Detroit, growing up the way that I did, seeing I saw so many Black people, Black lawyers, Black doctors. So I have always been unapologetic in my Blackness before it was even a thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that keeps me rooted in terms of I'm imported from Detroit and I have that attitude about myself. I'm going to advocate when something is not right and some people are being mistreated. I'm coming to the forefront. And so but in terms of relationships, I'm single, been single
Yeah.
my whole life, never married. And so it's a little bit challenging. It's a little bit challenging.
Okay, so let's talk about what people don't put on the resume.
Okay.
We started into it, so let's get into it. Where are you with your singleness right now?
I had been dating a younger guy from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm still single. I kind of crack jokes about that. But I date, but I usually friend zone people right away. And he was able to escape the friend zone for a while. And he was younger. I'm 54. I'll be 55 in October. And he was 40. He was born in 82, so he was 43, going on 44. And I couldn't even believe it. He was like my son is 35. But
It's okay.
you know what? When you've been single for a long time, and I may be able to speak to some of your listeners or your viewing audience
Please
about this.
do.
When you've been single for a long time, it's so much easier for you to protect the status quo. Like, because I've been single for so long, it's so much easier for me to keep myself single because
Mm.
I can find reasons. I can pick you apart as a man. It's a guy on Facebook, Mr. Collins, who wrote this extraordinary piece because he had been single too for over a decade
Mm-hmm.
about how you will just pick people apart. You don't want to share your space. You have to meet someone who will make you want to give up the peace you've created. Like they can enter
Mm-hmm.
your peace and keep it peaceful. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but he was doing it. He was getting there. I think that it was just really interesting for me to date to get further along after I tried to put somebody in my friend zone and he was like, I'm not going in that. And just getting further along with dating him and all the complications of dating someone when you are like me, used to being on your own. I dated a lot, don't get me wrong, but everybody would go in that friend zone right away, before it got complicated.
So you just don't want the complications, or where's the hindrance?
It was
You don't
just
want to do the work?
Well, no, you know what? I don't mind doing the work. I think I had just convinced myself it needed to be easy because I'm older. I wanted easy love. But easy does not mean effortless. You still have to do some work no matter how, you've been married a long time.
Yeah.
You probably should talk on this segment.
What?
Um,
No. They want to hear from a single woman, not a married woman who used to be single, because
you
mine
know,
was a little bit different.
in my mind, I see myself, and this is going to sound so full of myself, but you know how you just see yourself as a boss. And
Mm-hmm.
so he was a boss. And I told him, I said, okay, it took me a minute, like boss met boss. And I needed for us to be able to go forward, I needed to lay my boss down. But I was telling him it's a process and not a switch. And
Mm.
it was
That's
hard.
good.
Yeah, I got that from somebody off of YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process and not a switch. Like I couldn't just lay it down to make the relationship work, and we
Mm-hmm.
were so much alike. And that's another thing. You know how they say you want opposites to attract, but really it takes like-minded people to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
We were too much alike and we were just bumping heads.
Bumping heads.
I couldn't lay the
And
ball
so,
down fast enough.
okay. So now y'all just at a nothing.
We're friends. I have been able to do that because I have been able to keep myself as friends with everyone who I've dated. And when I say date, I don't mean intimate encounters. I mean just people
Mm-hmm.
that you're getting to know. Because sometimes you have to be clear about this. People think you're just running around, but I friend zone people so fast that I never had to make that choice really. But yeah, we're just friends. I'm still open to dating. I learned a lot from him because his first question, our first date was a 4 hour date, and he asked me,
Oh,
he said,
wow.
Gary, have you ever considered the needs of the kind of men that you're attracted to, the type of man that you want in your life? Have you thought about his needs? And I just felt like a man would, will travel. I'm gonna show up. I'm adventurous. I'm gonna make you. We're gonna have a good time. I'm fun. I'm funny. I'm exciting. He's like, a man doesn't care about that, Perry. And so I had not really thought about the kind of men that I like. I like a man to show up like I told him, which he did. He was stunning
Mhm.
in his manhood. How he showed up as a man is like everything I like. And it was hard. It was hard though because he was me too. He was everything I like, but we were so much.
Were you afraid of the fact that you actually got what you kind of asked for
I
or been
got
looking
what
for?
I asked for, but it was complicated. It wasn't just easy. Like, okay, I got what I asked for. He had his own emotional architecture. And so we had different emotional architecture. And that made it even more complicated. And I can't say I was afraid. He would say I was afraid.
Mhm.
I felt more like it was new. He was younger. It was some of that, some of the language. I'm from the 70s. He was born in 82.
Mhm.
It was just complicated. It wasn't easy, but it was fun. I had a great time with him. He actually lives in Detroit, so it was long distance too.
What's
But
the emotion? You said emotional. What did you say? Emotional.
architecture. So I
What does
am.
that mean?
For me, it means I am a for your heart out type of person, and he isn't. So when you have some, it would be like words of affirmation meeting a person that's acts of service. A person with words of affirmation as a love language, we still need to hear certain things, even if you are moving mountains. And that's how Dr. Chapman, the psychologist who discovered the love languages, that's how he found them. He was counseling someone who was words of affirmation, and her husband was acts of service. And Dr. Chapman was like, man, the man is doing everything. And you talk about he didn't tell you had a nice dress on. And so he couldn't understand it. And then God downloaded for him. He was a Christian. God downloaded for him those
Mhm.
languages. But when you have words of affirmation as a primary love language, you still need to hear it. And I told him, even if because he was very generous, he was very generous. And I was telling him, even if you bought me the world, I still need to hear. I got a nice dress. All the things I'm still gonna need to hear it. And so that's what I mean when I say
Okay.
emotional
Okay.
architecture.
Well, that's real. I mean, it sounds like you all were keeping it real with each other for the most part. It was just complicated.
It was hard.
Okay. So I'm gonna shift it a little bit. Probably gonna come back to him though.
I mean, you can ask whatever. I'm gonna
I
open
mean,
it.
I'm probably gonna come back to him because I'm gonna come back.
Okay.
So how do you feel? I'm gonna reword this question I gave you because I want to
Okay.
reword it differently because I gotta be I have to be diplomatic. How do you feel about what the church tells single women, and have you had to unlearn it in any way?
Absolutely. I think I won't mention the church, but I got saved in the late 1900s, and the church
Me too.
the church that I went to at the time was a very strong word teaching church, which is good. I'm glad they laid that foundation for me because I was able to go on and do. I even had a ministry in San Diego. Never know if I was low,
Mhm.
but I think that for me, the way that church is geared, the modern church, especially a church that's predominantly black, is just geared toward the woman being abstinent, making sure that you know your worth, making sure that, and I'm not saying run out and don't, not that any of that was incorrect in the teaching, but it's like
Mhm.
you're going to get a human being men that show up in your life, they're not going to be perfect, you know, and they're going to show up as human beings. And you'll be disqualifying someone that really could have been your husband, but you're
That's true.
disqualifying them because they
Mm-hmm.
showed up as a human being instead of
Mm-hmm.
a robot, you know, this
Mm-hmm.
instead of Jesus Jr., you know. So
That's correct. Now, I agree with that because in my church where I'm still a member, um, the mothers would tell us, you know, of course, keep your appearance, fix up, and get in the way. And what they meant by get in the way is don't be hiding. You know, somebody could see you, you know, God could have somebody again, that's like you said, human, and you looking for somebody, you know, in another plane, and this could be the person for you. You know, God looks on the heart. That's what he told me about my husband. The Lord looks on the heart, is not the outward. So I definitely agree with that. You know, we have to, you got to be sober minded. Women should be sober minded when they're considering um waiting on a mate or considering, but I do believe that you should be abstinent. I was abstinent for a time, waiting for my husband, but yeah, I agree with you on that. So when you are settling down, I mean, you get the question from people, when are you going to settle down? Like it's a flaw to fix. What's your unfiltered response to that question now?
I'll know when I know, you know, I really just don't know. You never could have told me when I left Detroit in 2008 that I would have never gotten married. You know, I thought that I would be married by now. No one could have told me when I was in my 30s that I would get to 55 and never have been married. So I don't know. I made peace with never being married. Was it painful? Not really, because I kept myself so busy. I haven't had to deal with myself on that level because I've been what I thought called to the nations and moving around. I think meeting the guy, I mean, I had known the guy, the younger man who I dated for a season off of Facebook. I knew him for 10 years, but
Mm.
he and I had just never met. And then one day, you know, we were inboxing and I said, you know, I need to meet you face to face. The next time I'm home, I'm going to take you for coffee. But of course, it didn't work out. I was home and got busy. You know how it is when you're home and you're running around. And then, so the next month, he was like, well, I'm coming to DC. I'm taking you to dinner. And that was it. You know, we went to dinner and we hit it off. The date was 4 hours. So I really haven't had to really, and before him, I really didn't have to really sit with that question about what's next for me because I was meeting men the way that I work and going in the cities. You know, I meet a lot of men, right? I meet
Mm-hmm.
and I could put them in the friend zone easily for many reasons. I met an engineer, he had 7 kids. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do 7 kids. Then I met a guy who believed, and you know, and I'll start out like it's exciting. You know how women, I'm still a woman on the inside. That's something else. The church tries to make you be superhuman, but you're a woman on the inside, and you know that to get in a woman's mind, just get in her ear, like the serpent in the story.
Yes.
He had
In
the
Genesis.
ear first, right? You know,
Mhm.
if you can listen to a man,
Yes.
he can get in, right? And
Yeah.
so, I could listen to men and be like, okay, no, like it was so easy for me to put men in the one guy, he wanted to debate with me recently that the world was flat. I'm like, bro,
What?
he was a whole principal of a whole school, Tanya, telling me the world was flat. I said, bro, have you ever been on a long distance flight? You just know it's not, you know. And so it's just been interesting out here. And I meet all types of men, engineers, lawyers. I met a doctor. His wife cheated on him. And so it's a lot of brokenness out here too. So it's not just me and wanting my wanderlust and call to the nations and moving around, but it's the quality of men, you meet
Mm,
people that are
that's
reentering
good.
society. Met a few of them, served time. And then I have a brother that was incarcerated, so I try not to be that one. So I don't just immediately friend zone you because you serve time.
Mm-hmm.
You have the 7 kids, or you believe the world is flat.
What about a different race? Would you date? Have you dated different races?
No,
Would you?
I don't think so.
Not your preference.
I have always wanted to. I went out a couple of times, but he was just my friend. He was younger too in San Diego. He was Mexican. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that just like when I was traveling the world, I realized I'm American girl. When I dated, well, I don't really call it dating, just like friends hanging out. I realized that I want a black man for sure. I know that I want somebody that can relate to the black tax struggle, and I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of interpreting, a whole bunch of explaining at the end of the day.
Okay. So how do you process sex and desire as a single woman of faith? Not the Sunday school answer, because you posted something. What did you post on Facebook recently?
About sexual discipline and being the key, because I look at things as roots or seeds.
Mm-hmm.
And so sexual discipline as being one of the root systems to success. And some of the guys took a lot of issue with what I was saying about,
Why?
because it is broader, but I believe if you can discipline sex, for me, how I was able to duplicate the discipline was I was very disciplined with my spending because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be able to say, oh, I've had enough and move and be able to take care of myself until I got the new role. And so I was very disciplined with my spending. But what I've learned is if you can discipline yourself in one area, really, I mean, really discipline yourself if it's eating, and so now I'm in that duplication stage. I was very good with
Mm-hmm.
disciplining myself with money and the sexual discipline. I was very good with that. And then I just started being able to duplicate it with the eating because I struggled with my weight up and down for many years. And just most recently, I feel like I broke free from.
Mm.
But yeah,
That's good. That's a whole message right there.
go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's a whole message right there. Because if you get disciplined in one place, discipline will happen in other areas. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. How long did it take you to get disciplined in the money area?
Well, my first adult love, he's a millionaire now. I'm not, but he was very good with money. We dated for 5 years, and he was just instilling in me philosophies like Perret. My real name is Perret. He would say, Perret, you bought a dress on sale, but you put it on your credit card and then you didn't pay the credit card off. You didn't get the sale, boo boo. He just was so patient with me. I was young. I was in my early 20s, like
Mm-hmm.
22. And so he just started teaching me how to value money and how to have a philosophy about managing credit cards and all the things. He just really just instilled that in me. I guess because I was so young. My father
Mm-hmm.
passed away when I was 12, and he was so much like my dad, being good with money. But it didn't take me long. I dated him for 5 years, and by the time we parted ways in 1999, I had it, because he was just in my ear constantly, like Perret. That didn't even make sense, and he was just in my ear, and I'm like, okay, okay, I got it. And so he is very good with money, but where I'm a bleeding heart too, so he's very good with money. He's gonna save every dime, and he'll help his family if they come to him. But I'm helping people all the time. If I see a
Mm-hmm.
need, I'm gonna help. And so I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
millionaire, but I don't have any debt, and
Mm.
I don't have any debt. I probably could be a millionaire if I just didn't have the bleeding heart, but I still, I can get up and move and take care of myself and those things. I keep a savings.
That's phenomenal because there's some women who people need help in that area. Definitely with managing the money, not just um, their bodies and relationships. So that discipline, please, that's a real good statement there. So what's lonelier, an an empty house after a 12-hour shift, or a room full of people who don't really see you? Do you struggle in that area at all?
No, because I'm so good alone. People project so much. So when you say you're good alone, they'll say, oh, you conned yourself or you've convinced yourself. And I realized how good I was alone when I traveled. I went to 23 countries by myself. And sometimes
Ooh.
it was unrest, it was terrorism in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
There, a whole plane went missing from Egypt the week after I left. And so I thought my whole life I was an extrovert, and
Mm-hmm.
because I'm friendly and I love people, but I ended up realizing that I don't get energy from people. It's draining for me. I have to turn on to be in social settings, to show up and all the things. And so for me, I'm okay at home. I'm okay at home alone, and
Baby,
I mean, I'm
I
good
get it.
alone, and that's I think what has kept me single because now my best friend, I have a best friend of 41 years. She's like, well,
Oh,
P, I just think that I will have to have somebody that's okay in my space or I'm in their space, and it can be peaceful because I've been alone so much, moving around the country, moving overseas, all the things, being alone so much. I feel like
but you are not lonely.
sometimes I didn't used to get lonely. Loneliness came to me in a pandemic because at first I was like, oh, it's cool. I was communications director for one of the black women on San Diego City Council. I was communications director for the first black woman and the second black woman to be on San Diego City Council.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time, and so that was in my 40s. That's the first time I really felt like I could identify that I felt lonely was in the pandemic because I was alone the entire time. Even we were like off, the government buildings were shut down, and I was having press
Yeah.
conferences, writing the speeches for press conferences daily. We worked like 72 days without a day off. We were having daily briefings. It was very scary at that time. We didn't know what COVID
Mm-hmm.
could do, and it was killing
Mm-hmm.
people. But
Yes.
I mean, I got lonely, and then me and this guy in New York, he was one of my Facebook friends. We ended up just talking to each other and inboxing each other. We were there for each other. It wasn't going to go anywhere. He's like, well, Perry,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could be together. I'm like, no, we used each other to get through the pandemic. It wasn't never going to be, because I'm not coming to New Jersey, New York, wherever he was. But yeah, I get lonely, but it does not last long. I feel like the more I get age on me,
Mm-hmm.
and then two of my very close friends passed away from cancer recently. I think when people
Mm-hmm.
your age start passing away, and then you get more age on you, you're like, hey, I want to be with someone. I want to grow
Mm-hmm.
old with
Yeah.
someone.
So you don't. So has a relationship ever asked you to shrink your ambition? And if so, what did you do with that?
No,
Friend zone?
I haven't had that because I felt called to these cities, to these what I call to the nations and the cities. It's been 7 of them. I work for government all over the United States, Northeast, East, Southwest, West, Germany. So, no, I haven't had that. Most often, I feel like men have really liked me and would have probably married me. I mean, I have text messages in my phone and it's like, I would have married you, period. You didn't have to stay single this long. I'm like, I'm
Oh,
okay,
that
bro.
is it.
I'm okay, bro.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, I mean, I've dated a long time. I have some stories on like the type of guys that you can meet. It doesn't even matter that you meet men in church because everybody that's in a church, it doesn't mean that the church is in them, right?
That's right. That's right. That has nothing that has no bearing. Because what's in you will definitely come out. You travel a lot, so what does it feel like to land in a new city alone and have to be your own welcome committee?
That's a good question. So one of the things they teach you about nonverbal communication is you show your palms. When you show your palms, you're deemed just more honest. When somebody is keeping their hands in their pockets and things like that, it's just a signal for distrust. So I have been going into communities showing my hands for 30 years now, and I can assimilate. It's not hard for me to build trust in communities because I'm a truth teller. I'm not going to play the games of the city hall games or the games of politics. I've always been a truth teller. That was my mother. Tell on yourself first. So in
Yes.
one of my jobs, I had to take a lie detector test because they wanted to make sure I couldn't be blackmailed. Like could you be
Mm-hmm.
blackmailed? And I'm like, no, because I'm telling myself first. It does not matter what it is. I'm going to stand up and tell the truth, even if it doesn't put me in the best light. The truth is the light. And so that being told something is one thing, but they drilled this stuff in us when we were younger, like telling ourselves first. So we grew up that way. Like something happened, I skipped school. You know, my mother was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I skipped school." You know, I told it myself first. And so I just, it's easy for me to build trust with that. And so I don't feel, I mean, I'm tired now because I've done this 7 times. I've gone in and built community. I even have a community here, and we do a nourishing spaces event. Black women get together and we nourish each other, have
Mm.
their food, plant-based food. And I've only been here for 2 years, but it's exhausting, you know, going into new, showing your palms all the time, going in, building trust and anticipating needs. And so I've gotten tired. To be honest with you, I want to come home.
You do?
I want to come home for about 5 years. I said one of my favorite aunts, you know, my aunt Polly. If you see it
Mm-hmm. I
on
remember
social
you
media, I'm
talking about
always
her.
talking about her.
Mm-hmm.
She's 87, and I just want to be there for her. She just lights up when I'm home, and she's recently in a facility. So I said I want to come home for about 5 years, and I mean, I know it wouldn't be my final destination because I do have to
No.
retire in a warm climate. I don't know how you all live in Detroit where the air is hurting your face. I don't know how you do that.
I don't know how I do it either. I don't want to leave my grandkids. That's my main thing. I don't want to be away from too far from them. But that cold is getting totally different now. It's a whole nother something else. So I get it. So what do you wish someone had told you about traveling solo as a Black woman before your first big trip? Like when you went to Germany, were you was cool with that?
Well, you know what? I was very blessed because my cousin, who was like my sister, we call each other sister cousin, she was married to someone in the Air Force, so he was stationed there. And they had a granny flat that had a bathroom which was like separate from
Mm-hmm.
your house. So it made it easy for me. I feel like I was able to discern the time and hop on that opportunity because they didn't mind me staying with them. And at first, you know, my story, I just was, my plan was to just to go there and travel. I had went to the German consulate in Los Angeles and got all of what I would need to just go there and travel. But of course, during that time when I decided to go travel, the Syrians had flooded the German borders and I couldn't get the visa that I needed. So I ended up working for the federal government. Of course,
Mm.
for all the people that are in the military that's been in Germany, I worked in Stuttgart at the Panzer Hotel, like an ambassador clerk.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a perfect job for me because, of course, what I met all the service members, all the men coming in, all the generals, people that didn't speak German. That need, by that time, I knew the country, I knew where to go get food, I knew how to ride the trains with the best of them, I knew how to tell them how to get around, and so I still have friends from there. I made some amazing friends, and because I was the only one who could work at both hotels, there are 2 hotels on that base. I
Mm-hmm.
um I just had favor, you know, I had favor with everyone.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I
How long were you in Germany?
1 year from
That's
October.
it felt like longer.
I know. And that's when I realized I was an American girl because I was like, man, being in a country, I got really empathetic toward people that are in a country and their language is not the primary language because, of course, I didn't speak German. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was running around with Google Translate at the time, using Google Translate in the supermarket just to read the ingredients and, you
Wow.
know, the train stop when somebody had an issue on one of the lines and the train stop and it's putting you off and it's all in German. I'm like, what's happening? Who speaks English? Why are they putting us off? But I was like, man, I'm an American girl. And I didn't want to be an American girl. You know, America, I'm like, I'm an African girl. I'm gonna go live in Ghana. But I did realize I was an American girl from that year.
Did you go to Ghana? Have you been to Ghana?
I have not. I just went to Egypt in Africa. I want to go to Ghana. I was looking at some houses and it's
Mm-hmm.
such inexpensive living, you know.
Yeah.
A couple of my friends on Facebook have gone and they had like these amazing once in a lifetime trips. So it's on my bucket list, TJ.
Good. I'll be glad. I'm not going. I had the opportunity to go, and I said no, thank you. Like it was about to be paid for, and I said nope.
You didn't want to go to Africa.
I don't want to go anywhere that's gonna have me on the plane for more than 3 hours.
Oh yeah, well then you never want to go overseas or any of that. Okay.
I don't even want to go to Hawaii. I can't. I don't even know if I'm ever coming to go to LA or California. I did sign up to get tickets for the Olympics. I don't know why.
In Los Angeles, you will probably get them too, because you don't really want to fly. But you get them, let me have them.
I will. I promise.
Okay.
Okay, so where does God actually show up in your singleness? Not the cliche, the real one.
Well, you know, I've led this leap in the net will appear life, and I had it in here because for five, 4 of the 7 leaps to new cities, or 5 only had a job twice. So 5 of the 7 leaps, I didn't even have a job when I left. I just had that. It's time to go.
Hey.
And so, for me, God is like, He is truly like an everyday companion. He's not somebody I just go talk to when things have gotten too hard for me. I'm daily trying to be guided by Him. And because when I was in Houston, He told me that my leap and net will appear season was coming to an end. I had no idea at that time. This was July of 2024. I thought I was moving to Kamala's DC. I had no idea that Trump was going to be president, all the things that are going on. But he gave me the playbook. He was like, get there, get your job with the government. Don't haggle about your salary, because he knew that I needed to start before Trump got sworn in, just in case he put a freeze on the hiring, which they did.
Yes, they
So I
did.
started. The Lord was like, you have to start before January 20th, and I started my job on January 13th. I'm like, okay, you know, I just listened to him all the way. You know, I just listened to him all the way. People think, well, how did you know? I was just listening to him. All the 7 cities, I was just listening to him. He would say, go there, do this, help the people. And when I was there, I got messages in my phone. I was fighting for people, getting compensation, equity, just doing everything he was telling me to do to make it right for me. That I think had cried out to him for someone to be brave enough to stand up against, you know, really powerful people in cities, and especially in some of my cities, because I felt like we come from a very strong union town. You know, Detroit, somebody would be on a bullhorn. Some of the things that would happen in cities, I'm like, where are the bullhorns? You know how it is living in Detroit.
Yes.
To be on a
Yes.
bullhorn, the street would be shut down. It would just change, would be coming to the region. But
Yes.
it wasn't like that in all the cities, and so I had to be the one with the bullhorn for the people.
You sound like such an advocate. Well, you are, obviously. So you just never wanted to be a lawyer?
You know, everybody has asked me that, but then it meant going to law school, and I had spent time in school. You know, I had got my undergrad degree. I went to grad school. I'm like, I don't want to go sit 3 years. But I think about it now, especially with everything I see going on. I was like, I would sue. I think about being a civil rights attorney every day.
I could definitely see that. That's just me, though. Where'd you go to undergrad? Michigan State?
Michigan State for 2 years, and then Wayne State for 2 years.
That's where it was. It was like the Michigan State thing. Okay. I was trying to remember. I was like, there seemed to have been because we would be talking about Michigan, because Shelby went to Michigan. So that's where it was, Michigan State. Yeah. Okay. We both went to Wayne State, but I got my master's at University of Phoenix.
Did you? Yeah. I went to
Okay.
Michigan. You know, people were going to those old online programs or wherever they could be a working adult and get the education too. So TJ need to teach the class.
I interviewed that man already.
Oh, did you? I go back and watch it. I go back and watch it. It comes.
Nope.
You know what? It's cost no matter whatever life you chose. For me, I was saying recently, my life came with a price, though. You know.
Yeah.
I paid it happily, but it's good and bad in it's good and bad in being married for 30 years. Probably not so much bad, but it's good in having a life partner through all of that for 30 years.
It's a blessing, but it's not over, Perry. I mean, it's not something that's over, actually. So I hope you're not talking like that.
No, I still have hope, but it's like, okay, I'll be 55. I know it can still happen for me. I'm still moving around. I know I'm gonna probably leave DC. I want to go home for 5 years or so. I can't
When
even.
you talking about coming back here in a year or two?
Oh, I don't know. I had some things fall through. I had 4 interviews for one position. Now me myself, I would never even sit through 4 interviews. I sit
Mm-hmm.
4 interviews for one job, and that job I really wanted, and it didn't work out for me. But I'm at this point in my career too, and walking with God, I'm like, I don't want it if it's not you, because
That's right.
I only want it if it's where you want me to go. This is where I am in my life. Like, I only want where he wants, because there's been some jobs I really thought I wanted, especially after I got the chief of staff certifications. And I wanted to be a chief of staff for this really well-known, large Black woman organization. And I just knew it was for me, and I didn't get it. And I had that peace. I was like, okay, you don't want anything unless the Lord is telling you that's where he has for you to go,
That's
because
right.
it's going to be hard regardless. I know the Lord sent me to Houston and gave me that job in Houston Public Works. I interviewed for another job, and they had somebody they wanted to give that job to, and they created a job for me that nobody else even could interview for. And that doesn't even happen in government.
At all.
And so I
Mm-mm.
was like, he wanted me there, and he had specific things for me to do. So I only want to go. I want to go home. This is my prayer before the Lord. I want to go home for a few years, be there for my Aunt Polly, be there for my son and his wife. But if it does not happen for me, it's okay. But that's where I want to go next. But see, had the Lord not told me, Tanya, that my leap in the net season was over, I would have already been home. I would have went home in December. I have
Mm.
apartments on the riverfront, the water
The
reservoir.
new ones?
I already had the
Yes.
apartment number picked out. They had told me they was gonna give me 3 months rent free because of my credit score. I was like, I'm coming home. I had the 4 interviews and I didn't get the job. Now normally I would have still went. I would have put my 2 weeks in, but I can't go like that now. I know the Lord has to tell me when to go.
That's good. That's good. I love that. So, what would you say to a woman listening right now who's terrified she's behind because she's still single at her age?
You're not behind. Like, truly, all of my close friends have been divorced. Um, And I'm not saying anything bad about divorce, whatever our station is. I'm not judging anyone, but you just don't even know the heartache you probably been saved from. That's how I look at it, because I'm not bitter.
That's good.
I'm not bitter at all. I just don't have that bitter spirit on me, and I know part of it is because I haven't had my heart broken multiple times. I had my heart broken once in the 1900s from the one who taught me everything.
Hmm.
That relationship not working out, it was heartbreaking. But since that time, I just have not been heartbroken. I haven't fallen in love again, and I just feel like I have been saved. I hear some stories, and I hear some stories, of course, because of my travel and how I am. And I'm just saying, well, it's okay, sisters. If you're still single, never married, or single and you've been divorced for a long time, it's okay. I still have hope. I do still have hope, but I also know that I have avoided a lot of unnecessary heartache. I feel that way deep in my soul, like I know I have.
Okay. But do you feel like that one heartbreak you had shaped you for the rest of it?
Because he set a very high bar. And my cousin that lives here, she's the one that really pointed it out to me. She was like, this man's still entering the conversations, and you started dating him when I was a teenager and I'm 45. And when she said that, I said, oh, wow, you're right. Like, he was the bar because he was good looking and smart and fun and all the things and good with money. And so, and we
And
got,
he's alive and a millionaire today. He married? Is he married?
he is not.
Hmm.
He is not. He lives in Detroit though.
Mm.
But no, he is not married. We still really good friends.
Mm. Really?
We've had that conversation, but let me tell you something about men with means, and some of these women may notice, and you may notice from your own husband. Men who have money have a different way of thinking about relationships because he's never been married either. He's 61, and they really he would beg to differ on this, but this is how I feel. They really expect things to be on their terms. Like, you know, he may not realize he's saying it that way, but it's like it needs to be on his terms because he's at that age. He's 61. He's never been married. He has all this money. He looks good. You would not believe he was 61. He kept his body in shape, still got abs and everything, smells incredible. And I'm like, no, it can't be on your terms, bro. It's hard. So, the women who are like me, very driven and ambitious, you want a certain type of man. Well, that man, a lot of them want things on their own terms because they are successful. It's not just us that we want them. I know it's a certain type of man that I'm attracted to. And
So if he wanted to give you what they call now a soft life, you're not interested?
I'm interested in a soft life, but I just don't want it to be all on his terms. Some of the terms I just wasn't okay with, and so because we talked about maybe starting dating again, seeing at that time I was still like really liking the young guy. I'm like, no, I like this young guy right now. But he still was like, yeah, we can date, you could date the young guy, I date who I want to date. I'm like, no, I'm not going along with that.
You're not doing that.
Uh-uh.
That's one of the stipulations. Was that one?
They
Is
were,
y'all both still open
yeah,
date?
people, yeah, yeah.
Mm. Okay. Then I'm gonna start praying. I know what's going on here.
But you know what? So many men now, time you're gonna have to pay for a whole bunch of people because so many men want to date other people. Now, mind you, I have met men who met me instantly, like I just want to date you. They're not the ones I
Mm-hmm.
want to date. But the men that I want to date, many of them want to date other people too. And so,
So a there's a commitment issue out here. Mm.
I would
And
say,
no age gap. It's just everybody.
yeah, because this guy, the millionaire, he's 61, and smart, fun, funny, well liked, athletic. But I just don't want to. I mean, I'm pretty sure the young guy was dating other people. We didn't even have that conversation. I wasn't trying to find out who you dating and all that because I'm long distance. We only had gone on 4 days. I didn't feel the need to have that conversation with him at that time because in two, during the dating, it was kind of complicated. I'm like, oh, it's kind of complicated. He's so much like me. I got to lay my boss down, but I wasn't laying my boss down fast enough for us to see if we could keep dating. And then, I wasn't sure where I would end up. If I was going to stay here, I was interviewing for jobs in California. They didn't work out. And so, I don't know. It's just a very interesting time to be single, especially as Black women, because everybody seems like they want to take a dump on Black women.
Mm-hmm.
You read the stuff on social
Yeah.
media, somebody
Mm-hmm.
calling Michelle Obama a man, and all of this foolishness we hear about. And I'm unapologetically Black. I wouldn't want to be anyone else but me,
Me
and so
neither.
I'm sure about that. I don't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so, but it's just like even on my page recently, I opened my page, my Facebook page up to be monetized, and some men had come on and they were just saying some derogatory things about Black women. I'm like, yo, I'm Black, right? And one guy was like, well, I thought you wanted engagement. I didn't know you wanted an echo chamber. And I'm saying to myself, I don't want an echo chamber, but you think I'm gonna let you come on my page and talk derogatory about Black women, and I'm Black, right? you know.
Right.
So it's just
People are so weird. What is the weirdness of really? But I need to go back to this gentleman. I have one more question about this young man.
okay.
Well,
Which one?
he
The
my age, so he's not a young
millionaire or
man.
the
The
82?
millionaire, because you said something to trigger me. you said you weren't letting your boss down quick enough for this young guy, but this guy that you used to date, were you trying to let your boss down for him?
Because he met me so young, I never had that boss with him. He is 6 years older than me. He was
Uh-huh.
born in 65. I was born in 71. I never had that. He met me pre who I became to be. He saw those things in me. He used to say, "You're never going to be happy just staying in Detroit. I see it on you. You got that wanderlust." He knew everything. I didn't even know I would go on to do all that I would, but he knew. He would tell me, he was like, "Parade, you're not going to be happy with this life that he worked the same job for 30 years, lived in the same house, and I've lived in 7 different cities, 10 different moves, probably 20 different jobs." So I never had the boss with him because he came into my life teaching me. He was When I met him, I was 22 and he was 29. I was getting ready to turn 23, and he just taught me so much. So I didn't have that, but I had more of an admiration. He was my first real man boyfriend. When I met him, he already had a house. At 29, he already had a house. He already had his career. He already had, when you're dating and you're younger, you're dating people they still living at home. When
Yeah.
I was dating, he was the first guy that had his own house and all the things, and
Mm-hmm.
I I just admired him. So it was a different type of structure, right? And like with the younger guy, it was we had emotional architecture differences. But this older man, when I met him, and I was getting ready to graduate from Wayne State, he came to my graduation, and I just admired him so much. And he was the best looking man that had ever tried to talk to me at that time. He set the bar. Trust me when I tell you, he set the bar.
I believe you. I see your face. I believe you.
He set
It's
the bar.
all over your face, ma'am. You still talking about that man.
I know, 30
Okay.
years later.
You said what?
30 years later.
Mm-mm. You ain't gonna tell me nothing. I don't, mm-mm. 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 Mm. Mm. My God. Okay. Well, this has been the best interesting conversation I have had about singleness and a career woman and love. And love, yep. Um, do you want people to contact you?
People want to reach out on Facebook, I'm Perri Storey on Facebook, and then I'm Perri Storey 1024, my birthday, on Insta. I just have Facebook and Insta. I don't have TikTok. I probably should
It's
get
okay.
TikTok.
I got TikTok, but I don't use it as much as I've done the other two.
Okay.
But it's been such a pleasure having you on here. Thank you for joining us for Giving Us Something to Talk About. And we want you to tune in and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk to you soon.